All right, so I'm going to be covering my top 5 weapons once again here in Modern Warfare 3. And there has been no weapon balancing as of Season 1, but there have been some discoveries and some new setups that I have put together that I have been using much more than my previous list. So I wanted to make sure I shared those with you guys. If you guys have any ideas for top 5s, like top 5 secondaries, top 5 most underrated weapons, stuff like that, make sure you guys go down in the comment section and let me know. I definitely like to look into doing something like that. I kind of enjoy doing these top 5 lists and giving you guys like my personal favorites, but let's not put off any more time. Let's jump into it. So I wanted to start my list here with an honorable mention of the most underrated weapon in my opinion in the game, and that's the TAC Eradicator. It is getting some love over in Warzone, but I feel like I don't see it used much over in multiplayer. When built out properly, you can build it out like an assault rifle, a slow-moving assault rifle at that, but it has very little recoil and packs an absolute punch with a great damage range. So personally, I don't really understand why it doesn't get more love, and that's why it's going to be an honorable mention on my list. So we're going to start our build here with a stock, and that is going to be the TAC Vert Core stock. That's going to give you gun kick control, fire aiming stability, and recoil control. One of the more important attachments of this build to limit the recoil and help you with your farther range fights here. This is going to give you 23% towards the gun kick control, 11% towards the horizontal recoil control, and then 12.7% towards the vertical recoil control. So all around a very important attachment, as you can see. Now for a rear grip, I have the FSS Combat Grip, giving you fire aiming stability, gun kick control, and recoil control. For the same reason we chose the stock, it's going to limit the recoil and help you significantly with medium and farther range fights. It is an LMG after all, and that's definitely where it's going to thrive the most. So looking at these statistics, once again, it's not as impressive as the stock, but it is still important nonetheless. 10% towards the gun kick control, 7.5% towards the horizontal recoil control, then 8.2% towards the vertical recoil there. For a magazine, normally I would say this is an optional attachment, but in this case, I'm going to say it's absolutely not. You can see the large green increase to both handling and mobility with this attachment. This is what's virtually going to turn it into an assault rifle-like weapon. You get 3 ticks towards movement speed, 3 ticks towards aim down sight speed, a large increase to sprint to fire speed, and reload quickness. So in order to make this thing like an assault rifle, you do need this magazine on, and this is what really, in my opinion, makes it one of the most underrated weapons in the game. Looking here, I'm going to actually hide my camera so you can see all the statistics for the overall movement increases, because it's quite a bit there. You can see all the increases to mobility, the large one being the ADS movement speed. Then you can see we get 11.4% towards the aim down sight speed, and then we also get 21.1% towards the sprint to fire speed. Sliding all the way to a muzzle, we have the 8-point flash hider. Now this attachment is actually quite unique because it takes away aim down sight speed, but not as much as basically the rest of them. So for an example, let me just show you something really quick. Let's just say we want to use the Sacred Tread 40. You got a negative 13.8% decrease to your aim down sight speed. Let's go over to a Modern Warfare 3 one. You're going to have a negative 10.3% decrease to your aim down sight speed. But let's go back over here to the 8-point flash hider, and you're going to see we are only sacrificing 6.9%, but we are gaining more in the forms of recoil control, 13% across the board to your gun kick control, horizontal recoil control, and vertical recoil control. So a fantastic attachment. Yeah, still sacrificing a bit of aim down sight speed, but that recoil control is 100% necessary. So our last attachment is a barrel with the Conquer 70 long barrel. This is going to basically turn it into that LMG power, LMG damage range, while still having assault rifle-like mobility with the addition of the magazine. So think of it like a hybrid between an LMG and an assault rifle. So our bullet velocity and damage range here increases by 25% to the damage range and 30% to the bullet velocity. So if you guys didn't catch all that, make sure you guys pause the video right here so you can copy down all of these attachments. Like I said, by far the most underrated weapon here in Modern Warfare 3. Let me know if you guys have a different weapon that you feel is the most underrated, but I highly recommend you guys give this one a try. You're not going to be disappointed with this one. Now at number 6, or honorable mention spot number 2, I really don't consider this an honorable mention. I just felt like it deserved to be in the top 5, but you can only choose 5. So I guess top 6 in a way. We have the Holger 5.56. So of all of them, I would say it competes just the same. I don't know. Honorable mention, I guess, is what I got to call it, but it's definitely worthy of being in the top 5. I guess if one of them gets a nerf, this one's definitely taking the spot. Once again, starting with a stock, I have the RB Addle stock. That's going to give you gun kick control and recoil control, similar to what we just did with Attack Eradicator. This is an important attachment. This weapon is an absolute damage monster. So if you could find a way to limit the recoil control, it's a 3-shot kill. So we get 9.4% towards the gun kick control, 12.8% towards the horizontal recoil control, and 12.1% towards the vertical recoil. Down here to a rear grip, you're going to want the Morn 20 grip. Flinch resistance, recoil control, and gun kick control. That flinch resistance is actually kind of strange. This is the only weapon in the game that it has that flinch resistance tacked on to the recoil and gun kick control. I'm with it. When you're getting shot at, you still basically shoot a straight line. There's not really much flinch involved, but just a little weird in my opinion. Going over here, we are gaining 50% towards your flinch resistance. Like I said, it's kind of insane. Then we also get 10% straight across the board to your gun kick control, vertical recoil control, and horizontal recoil. For an underbarrel, I have the FTAC MSP98 hand stop for aim walking speed, vertical recoil control, gun kick control, and movement speed. I've talked about this attachment in my past videos. This thing's absolutely awesome. We're sacrificing a tiny bit of horizontal recoil control and a tiny bit of aim walking steadiness in return for a ton of mobility and vertical recoil control. Like I said, I'm a huge fan of this attachment on certain weapons, and it does the job very well. So it's negative 5.8% there towards the gun kick control, and then we also get 6.8% towards the vertical recoil control. And I'm once again going to hide my screen for you guys. So you can see we are gaining quite a bit of movement in the form of ADS movement speed, along with base movement speed and crouch movement speed there with that attachment. For a muzzle, I have the Shadow Strike Suppressor. If you want more recoil control, you can swap right over to the monolithic there, but I definitely recommend running a suppressor on this weapon in general. For some reason, it feels really freaking good, but more importantly, you get to stay off the minimap, meaning it's going to be much easier to streak up. I personally like the Shadow Strike, but if you still in need of more recoil control, the monolithic is right there for you to use as well. And our last attachment, and the most important attachment, is the Trio 6-match barrel. Bullet velocity and damage range, recoil control, and gun kick control. As I had stated, this thing's a damage monster, and you kind of want to maximize that while limiting the recoil. So if you look at the headshot damage, that's 54 damage there, meaning you sprinkle one headshot in with 2 upper torso shots, or actually lower torso shots at that, it's a 3-shot kill. Not many weapons in this game 3-shot kill, especially in the assault rifle category. So, but more importantly, our damage range is increased 20% to 44.2 meters, which means you can get a 3-shot kill up to 44.2 meters. And then we also got the bullet velocity increased 10.5%, and then some small values there also added to the recoil control. Once again, there's all of the attachments for you guys to copy down. If you didn't have the chance to do so, just pause the video quickly, copy them down, do what you got to do. Like I said, it's not in the top 5, but I feel like it really depends on the player. I could definitely see this being a top 3 weapon on another person's list, and you wouldn't even bat an eye at it. This thing's an absolute beast. So at number 5, I have the Striker SMG. This is kind of falling down the list a bit, but it doesn't mean it's gotten worse for me. I just think some other weapons are better. So it's an SMG that kind of acts like a medium range assault rifle, but still has the fire rate and mobility of an SMG. I just personally think some other weapons just kind of moved up my list after building them out and giving them a try. Like I said, it didn't get worse. I just think other weapons got better. Now, starting us off with this ugly freaking stock is the Lockman Recon Series stock. It is ugly, but it does a very good job. Fire aiming stability, gun kick control, aiming idle sway, and recoil control. And as you can see, that's at the sacrifice of no aim down sight speed, which is important. It is still an SMG. You want to have a pretty fast aim down sight speed. So looking at the statistics, 24.8% towards your gun kick control, 12% towards the horizontal recoil control, and 10.9% towards the vertical recoil control. For a magazine, in this particular case, I am going to call it an optional attachment. You don't have to go with this. You can go with the 60-round drum. You could go with the normal 30-round mag if you want. It's really going to depend on your playstyle and the map you choose to play. I personally like that 48-round mag just because it's kind of like a sense of security. If 4 or 5 enemies round a corner, I'm taking gunfights back, one after the other. I like to have those extra bullets so I'm not stuck in a situation where I'm running out of bullets. Now, the FTAC MSP98 hand stop is making an appearance once again here for the underbarrel. I don't need to explain it all too much. I explained why I love the attachment. You get mobility and recoil control all in one attachment, and we're making up for a little bit of what was lost there with the stock with that mobility side of things. But 5.7% towards the gun kick control and 6.9% there towards the vertical recoil. For a muzzle, the Shadow Strike suppressor, once again, same as the Holger. If you want some more recoil control, the monolithic suppressor is right there, and it's a very good option. But personally, I'm pretty good with controlling recoil, so I like that Shadow Strike suppressor simply because it has 0 cons to running it, but we still get to stay off of the mini-map and streak up much easier. And the last attachment is the Striker Recon Long Barrel. You're going to increase that bullet velocity and damage range, which is what really is going to turn it into that medium range like assault rifle. And 11.4 meters with a 10 or 18.3% gain to the damage range. And then we got 619.5 meters per second with the 14.7% increase to that bullet velocity. I don't want to beat a dead horse here. It's a high damage weapon. You can see 46 headshot damage, 39 upper torso damage, and 36 lower torso damage. It's a pretty easy recoil pattern to control, so make sure you're aiming high, and that's where you're going to get the fastest kills. Now, I don't have anything else to say about the weapon, but what do you guys think about this camo? I think it's kind of trippy. I've heard some negative things about it, but low-key, I kind of like it a lot. I don't know, man. I like these event camos. I like what they've been doing with them. In the number 4 spot, we have another SMG, and I'm not sure a lot of you will be surprised. It is the Rival 9. It's the pro SMG of choice, and the reason it's above the Striker, it's a little more versatile. Sure, it's not as good at long range, but I'm going to say that's simply because of the recoil pattern. It has a faster fire rate, and it just performs better. I don't know. It could just be a feel thing, but I feel like I can take similar ranged gunfights with the Rival 9 while still having a much faster weapon. I don't know. I'm just going to go with the versatility take. You guys let me know if I'm wrong. I mean, that's what basically all the comments I get most of the time in these videos are telling me how wrong I am. So let me know. Getting us started here with a stock is the MTZ Marauder stock. We are sacrificing some movement speed, but that's not all too big of a deal. This thing has an above average movement speed in general, but we are getting a lot of gun kick control, aiming, idle sway, and fire aiming stability here, which is necessary. Without these attachments, it does bounce around quite a bit. And that's going to give you 10% towards the gun kick control, 3.3% towards the horizontal recoil control, and 5.2% towards the vertical recoil control. And the big thing, we're not sacrificing any aim down sight speed here with this attachment. For the rear grip, I have the Rival Vice Assault Grip, gun kick control, fire aiming stability, and recoil control. Same reason we did choose the stock there, except this one's a little better. We're getting 10% towards the gun kick control, 8% towards the horizontal recoil control, and 8.5% towards the vertical recoil control. So you can see the trend we're going on here. There's one more attachment that gives you recoil control that you're going to want to run. It's going to make a world of difference. It's going to make a world of difference. Man, I can't speak. Let's get next attachment. I have a magazine here. I've seen people run the 30-round mag. The pros run the 30-round mag, but I personally just don't feel secure enough running that 30-round mag. The reload's not fast enough. I go with the 40-round mag, and it's not going to hit you all too hard. I mean, it's pretty small numbers there. You don't have to run it if you don't want to. This is definitely a preferential attachment. If you want to run an underbarrel, feel free to do so. I spoiled it. There isn't an underbarrel on this. I just personally feel safe with the 40-round mag here. So here's the thing. I'm going to call this the most important attachment here. It's the Lockshot KT85 muzzle. You can see the large increase to horizontal recoil control, gun kick control, and vertical recoil control. Modern Warfare 2 muzzle here. We are sacrificing a good amount of aim down sight speed, but I feel like this attachment is necessary to take medium range fights. We are getting 19.2% towards the gun kick control, 15.1% towards the horizontal recoil control, and 19.6% towards the vertical recoil control. Like I said, I feel like this attachment is quite important when it comes down to taking medium range fights. Without this one, I found it to be a bit bouncy. There are other options you can go with, but I feel like this one is going to be your best bet, so at least give it a try. And the final attachment is the Rival C Clear Shot Barrel, giving you an increase to bullet velocity, aiming out of sway, damage range, and recoil control. I'm mainly targeting the damage range here. It doesn't increase it all too much, but any increase is a good increase. It's only a 12.5% increase there to the damage range at 11.4 meters, and then 15% to the bullet velocity, bringing up to 517.5 meters per second. So even with all of the movement we kind of sacrificed with this build, I looked at the statistics. It's still very above average. One of the only weapons that ends up beating it out is the WSP Swarm, which makes sense. That thing's basically a pocket pistol, a pocket SMG at that point. So it makes sense. So your mobility is still very high, and we've limited the recoil. It's going to become much more versatile with this build. So at number 3, I have the Bas B. I've heard two sides of this story, and I feel like there's no in between. So make sure you guys go down in the comment section and let me know which train you're on. I've heard that people, this is their favorite weapon in the game. It's absolutely overpowered. It's the best. I've also heard people say this thing sucks. I absolutely hate it. Don't ever want to touch it again. So you guys let me know. What I have for you guys is very low recoil, and the dang thing packs a punch with this one. Now, not often do I say a stock is the most important attachment of the build, but this particular case it is. The Ravage 20 heavy stock is going to give you gun kick control, recoil control, and fire aiming stability. When we look at these statistics here, the Bas B does not have a large kick to the recoil. The gun kick control is above average in the form of being bad. It's worse than other weapons. So this stock is going to give you a 20.8% decrease to the gun kick control. It's bringing it down a ton, and that's what's really going to make this thing shoot a straight line. We also get some smaller values, 5.6% towards horizontal recoil control, and then also 9% towards the vertical. But like I said, easily the most important attachment here. For the rear grip, we have the ST88 grip, giving you, once again, gun kick control, recoil control, and fire aiming stability. It's a weapon that you want to make sure you're sticking to farther range fights. It's not a fast-paced weapon, but I tell you what, as a fast-paced player, even I enjoy using this thing, so that should speak volumes here. So we got 10% towards the gun kick control, 7.2% towards the horizontal recoil control, and 7.8% towards the vertical recoil control. Once again, we have a magazine here, and I'm going to call it optional. You can go with the 45-round mag, you can go with the stock 20-round mag. 30 is my sweet spot. There's not much to talk about here. For an underbarrel, I have the SL Skeletal vertical grip. That's going to give you aim down sight speed, vertical recoil control, gun kick control, and sprint to fire speed. I like this attachment a lot. What is there to complain about? We got freaking aim down sight speed and get recoil control. That's something you would have never seen in Modern Warfare 2. That being said, 6.9% towards the gun kick control, 8% towards the vertical recoil control, and we got negative 5.5% towards the aim down sight speed there. And our last attachment is the Bruin Venom long barrel. Gives you bullet velocity and damage range, recoil control, aiming idle sway, and gun kick control. This is what really puts it over the top, in my opinion. Not the best attachment. You can definitely use it without a barrel, but without the barrel, it's a pretty lackluster damage range, and it falls off pretty quickly. We're gaining 20% there, bringing it up to 42.7 meter damage range, which is very, very good, and 10.5% towards the bullet velocity. If we were to take it off, it's at a 35.6 meter damage range, which, like I said, pretty lackluster. It's average. It's just not above average. When you add the barrel, that's where it becomes above average, in my opinion, that is. We also get some other stuff towards the recoil control, but the main target there is that damage range. So, like I said, go down to the comment section. Are you on the train with the Bas B, or are you on the train leaving the Bas B in the past? I don't know. I personally, I'm not normally a fan of slower paced weapons. This one's absolutely awesome, and I have a ton of fun using it every single time. So at number 2, we have the DG58. And now some of you may be looking at me like I'm absolutely insane, because in my last video, I said how much I hated the burst rifles. I did say that, but I also kind of made a build that I fell in love with, and I've been using it a ton. So I guess I'm allowed to change my mind, right? I'm allowed to do that? Yeah. I own this channel. Starting here with a stock, I have the Soldier Pro padded butt plate. This thing's got a funny name, but it does do a good job. We got 17% towards the gun kick control. We got 1.8% towards the horizontal recoil control and negative 6% towards the vertical recoil control. Overall, this weapon doesn't really have much recoil, but it's also not a weapon you want to use at super far ranges, because burst weapons tend to just not be that good. If you miss a shot, it's not great. They're very good medium and close range weapons, though. So controlling recoil is going to help you with your farther range fights if necessary. For a rear grip, we have the Varanus Steady Grip. That's going to give you fire aiming stability, gun kick control, and recoil control. I sound like a broken record. All of these attachments in the rear grip category are exactly the same with different names, but yeah. It's 10% towards the gun kick control, 7.3% towards the horizontal recoil control, and 7.9% towards the vertical recoil control. Now, things are going to start changing when we get to that underbarrel. That underbarrel I was just referring to is the Kimura Rin 03 vertical grip. I've never used this attachment in the game, ever, at all. So people may, I don't know if anybody else has, but you can see we're getting 2 ticks towards gun kick control and vertical recoil control, which is going to help you significantly in the farther ranges. That being said, like I just said, you don't want to take farther range fights, but I think the reason I fell in love with this build is because of the recoil attachments I chose. It makes it much easier to, number one, hit one burst kills, but also take those farther range fights in general with ease. So this attachment is a large part of that. You get negative 14.5% towards gun kick control and negative 12.8% towards vertical recoil control at a very, very small sacrifice of 5% towards the aim down sight speed. For muzzle, I have the Shadow Strike Suppressor. You can take this off if you want. You can throw on a larger magazine. You can throw on a laser sight, maybe an optic if you want. I personally like to stay off the mini-map. I have a much easier time streaking up while doing so. And our last attachment is the CDG T25 light barrel. I don't know why they call it a light barrel when it is easily the longest barrel here. Kind of doesn't make sense, right? But I don't make the names. It's the best barrel you can be using here. We're going to gain 20% towards the damage range and 10.5% towards the bullet velocity. Like I said, the name may be a little deceiving, but it definitely helps you in the terms of damage range and bullet velocity much more than the other ones. So for an example, we look at this one, it's 15%. This one, it's 20%. So it's the best barrel. Simple as that. There's all of your attachments on the screen. Judge me if you want to, but like I said, I own the channel. I can change my mind. And I definitely think this one's at number 2. And finally, at number 1, we have the MCW. I'm sure absolutely none of you are surprised that this is the number 1 weapon in the game. I mean, if you're watching this video, I'm assuming you've been playing the game and everybody's been using it. It's the ACR. What can I say? If it was bad, I'd be pretty mad, to be honest. But thank God it's not. You got a no recoil weapon with a very generous damage range, very generous mobility. I definitely see them nerfing it a bit, but I don't ever see it falling completely out of the meta. I think it's going to stay in my top 5 all year round if I had to guess. Now, we're going to be using an optic on this one, and I have the MK3 reflector. As always, this is a preference attachment. You can use those iron sights. You can use, I've seen a lot of people use the slate reflector. The MK3 reflector just happens to be my personal optic of choice. Feel free to run whatever you want here. For a rear grip, I have the RB Claw PSL grip for fire aiming stability, gun kick control, and recoil control. Pretty simple. It's going to help you take the farther range fights that this thing is very capable of doing. We got 10% towards your gun kick control, 8% towards the horizontal recoil control, and 7.9% towards the vertical recoil control. Over here to an underbarrel, we have the X10 Phantom 5 hand stop making its first appearance on my list. And the reason I'm doing that is because we're gaining a ton of aim down sight speed and sprint to fire speed. And we're also gaining some recoil control as well. But I'm mainly targeting the aim down sight speed and sprint to fire speed here. You can see we're getting 7% towards your aim down sight speed, another 7.4% towards the sprint to fire speed. That's some pretty small recoil control values. We got 3.9% towards the gun kick control and 4.6% towards the vertical recoil control. For a muzzle, I have the monolithic suppressor. I personally like to use this simply because it helps me hit my shots at farther ranges. But if you want, you can go with the normal Shadow Strike there if you don't plan on taking long range fights at all. But I personally like the monolithic there. We are gaining a small amount of recoil control, 4.1% towards your horizontal recoil and 4.3% towards your vertical recoil control. And our last attachment, and simply the most important attachment, is the 16.5-inch MCW Cyclone barrel. 3 ticks towards your bullet velocity and damage range. The rest of the stuff doesn't matter. We're targeting that damage range there so it can be an absolute laser beam across the map. We got 21.3% towards the damage range, bringing it up to 32.3 meters, 25.5% towards the bullet velocity, up to 891 meters per second. I covered that one pretty quick, but I feel like I don't need to talk about it. It is simply the best weapon in the game, and there really shouldn't be any argument about it. I mean, it's just easy, high mobility, low recoil, good damage range. What else do I need to say? So that is my top 5 weapons here in Modern Warfare 3. Make sure you guys go down in the comment section and tell me how wrong I am. If you're going to tell me I'm wrong, make sure you tell me which weapon I'm wrong about, and make sure you tell me which weapon should be in which place. So AKA, give me your top 5 weapons here in Modern Warfare 3. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button with the notification bell. I'll see you guys in the next video. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching. Deuce.